Now to a big shakeup at the White House. Officials announcing the firing of potentially more than 100 members of the National Security Council, the latest shoe to drop since the ouster of former Trump National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Joining me now, our friend Ned Price, former Deputy Ambassador to the UN. He also served as spokesperson for the State Department, and Ned also worked at the CIA. Ned, welcome. So what are you hearing about this shakeup and how many people are being dismissed? And what do you think are the real-world implications for national security because of it?
Alex, these are all good questions, and the fact that we don't have precise answers to these very questions is itself a cause for concern. In terms of what we know, it sounds like about 100 career professionals have been sent back as of Friday afternoon to their home agencies. That's the big headline. That's the what. But in some ways, it is the how and the why that are even more concerning as we learn more about this development. In terms of the how, look, the Trump White House is not the first White House to want to, or to purport to want to create an NSC that is nimbler and leaner and in some ways more effective. I spent 3 years on the National Security Council staff under President Obama. That was a goal of ours as well. But there's a smart way to do this and there's a dangerous way to do it. And the dangerous way to do it is to, in one fell swoop, send everyone home at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday before a 3-day weekend. We would always joke that long weekends were a recipe for national security crises, and they are really tempting something very unfortunate, something even profoundly dangerous, by dismissing everyone in one fell swoop and just saying goodbye on a Friday afternoon. But the other important question here is the why. Look, as I said before, I worked for a National Security Council that wanted to be nimbler and more effective. My concern here is that they're not doing this for efficiency. They are doing this to really stamp out any ideological dissent, to prevent this very body from generating ideas that may not be seen as something President Trump would want to seek in his own policy choices. That's really the goal of the National Security Council staff in some ways. It's why the current iteration of the National Security Council has been around since the Bay of Pigs, really, because President Kennedy realized that he was not well served by his advisors engaging in what's known as groupthink. He wanted a body to challenge him, to bring in the interagency, to present options, and ultimately to tee up decisions. What President Trump is doing with this is profoundly dangerous, and I do fear, as you said, that we'll feel the consequences for a long time to come.
So bottom line, it is perceived as apolitical, and you worry that this may be a political move.
Absolutely. This is, again, not about coordination. This doesn't seem to be about efficiency. This is about ensuring ideological purity. And ideological purity is really the last thing that you want in the National Security Council staff. The very body that's supposed to present options, to be creative, to give the president input for decisions. If they are just teeing up exactly what he is ordering without engendering some of these new ideas and options, that's dangerous ultimately.
Yeah. Let's turn to the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks. They wrapped up after a fifth round of negotiations in Rome. So the Wall Street Journal reports, Ned, that they may be working on the framework of a deal, leaving important details to be negotiated later. NBC News has not independently confirmed this reporting, but if this is the case, what questions does it raise for you?
Well, Alex, actually, these two stories are very much related, the turmoil at the National Security Council and what's going on with Iran. And I say that because the Trump administration has approached these negotiations since the earliest days of this administration in a very haphazard way. This administration has been all over the map in terms of what the United States seeks out of these discussions. Iran has been very clear about what it wants. But if you listen to the various principles over the course of the past 3 months, at one point, we were willing to countenance enrichment on Iranian soil. At one point, we were focused on a model by which Iran would have to import uranium that had been enriched elsewhere. And now it seems that they're at least purporting that the United States government won't tolerate any level of enrichment on Iranian territory. And I say these two stories are related because the National Security Council is there to adjudicate decisions just like this. The Iranian question is one that involves politics. It's one that involves geopolitics, intelligence, defense, energy, and very technical questions. And so you need all this expertise expertise to determine at the outset what it is that we're after. And the fact that we've had these several different answers from our own government over the course of the past few months really says to me that they don't know what they want. They don't have a process to determine that. And ultimately, when we're not clear on our own goals, I think we run the risk of allowing the other side to outpace us. But again, if they are successful in this effort, I think we have to remind ourselves that they might be able to approximate what the United States had until 2018, and that is to say a verifiable, permanent basis to ensure Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon. We had it until 2018 because President Trump abandoned it in 2018. So they're really trying to recreate the status quo ante. I hope they're successful because the Iranian nuclear challenge is a big one for the United States, but very little of what we've seen so far gives me that optimism.
It's interesting because the Washington Post has a new report. It's from inside Tehran for the first time in 10 years. You have NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel. He's been reporting from inside Iran in recent weeks. What do you think the significance is of Iran inviting foreign journalists? Are you reading something into that?
Well, look, clearly Iran is signaling in ways both overt and subtle to the Trump administration that they want to do business. Even the foreign minister penned an op-ed in the Washington Post, I believe, that touted billions, if not larger sums of investment opportunities for the United States if Iran were to be open for business. In other words, if all the sanctions were dropped. So yes, Tehran is very clearly broadcasting that they want to arrive at a deal. Whether we can arrive at a deal that meets all of our goals, including goals that we very much need, a verifiable and permanent basis on which to ensure that Iran never develops a nuclear weapon, that's a very open question. Yes, of course, there will be investment opportunities if the sanctions are dropped, but whether this team can be successful in what their stated goal is to prevent Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon, again, I hope they're successful. I think there are many reasons to believe they're going to have great difficulty just watching the turmoil within the White House itself.